people have worked to make that a reality. And I'm really proud of the work that's going on. And I'm really proud to say that Lynn has really stepped up in a big way to take this on. And as we've been so impacted, we're able to try and move forward with this on getting everyone vaccinated. So I want to thank everyone publicly for that. Dr. Tutwiler, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, just a quick data point that I was aware of, but needed permission to share. The Lynn Teachers Union did survey its membership and got about 1,000 responses, and 90% of those who responded have received either the first dose or are fully vaccinated. So that's pretty wonderful.
No, it's great news. It's great news. Member Ford, Member Gately, then Member Castellanos, and then Member Nicholson.
Just before I ask my question, I want to echo what the mayor said about the job being done at Lynn Tech. They've done a phenomenal job. We're getting calls.
Say again, I'm sorry.
Should we have Larry take down those signs?
What is the issue with the signs?
They weren't approved. It went to, they were tabled.
Okay, so the limit is not 25, it's still 30.
Well,
Right.
technically, if there was no sign, it's 25. If there's a posted speed limit, you need an ordinance for the sign. So if we just get rid of the signs, doesn't it go back to 25? Taking them down because we're jumping the gun.
Video on, yeah.
Okay. We're starting our Lynn Traffic Commission meeting. We're going to start with the roll call, and it looks like Dave is here. I'm here. 3. Jim is here. Waiting for name 2000, and Chris is here. So we have a full quorum. Everybody is here, all 5 members. At this time, approval of minutes. Chris, good to see you. Do I have a motion for approval of minutes?
I approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I call the question. Andy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Motion passes unanimous. Public hearings. I guess we'd have to do them separately. 996 on Brookline Street to rescind the one-way during school times from, Andy, would we actually do that as one combined thing? Because we're not actually rescinding it, we're just changing it during school hours, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do the two together.
I think the most streamlined thing to do is to leave it to the discretion of the principal of the various schools. This is just a temporary thing. And already the Brookline Street, we've changed the signs twice now, and I still don't think they're correct.
All right, I'm gonna take the two at the same. So 996 and 997 for Brookline Street. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, I close the public hearing in favor. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to Brookline Street, the one-way zone, pending and changing? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close the public hearing in opposition. So I think what we're looking for is a motion, not to rescind, but just to change the hours during this temporary thing. And have it, the schools can either get a hold of myself or Andy, and we will make the changes. So do I have a motion?
Don't move.
Your motion?
That's my
Is
motion.
there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I call the question. Andy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Again, It passes unanimous. And, Huss Court. Basically, there's some signage up there. Somewhere along the line, the ordinance didn't get passed, so we're just looking to correct what is up there for signs. So at this time, I'm going to do a public hearing for Huss Court to establish resident parking only. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the resident parking on Huss Court? Hearing none, I close the public hearing in favor. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close the public hearing in opposition, and I close the public hearing. What is the wish of the board? I think it's a good thing to do. We need to get the signs back up.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
Motion
second that.
made, second. Motion made by Andy, seconded by Chris. Andy?
Yes.
Any discussion on the motion? None? Andy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
And myself is yes. Motion passes unanimous. Number D, Cliff Street. Establish no parking on Cliff Street, the side of 149 Walnut Street, up and including 13 Cliff. So from the beginning of the driveway up to 13 Cliff is what we're going to be doing. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, I close the public hearing in favor. I open it to anybody in opposition. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I close the public hearing in opposition, and I close the public hearing. I did talk to a couple of the abutters. I talked to Mr. Chalmers today. I did talk to Mr. Ferrari. I talked to a couple of ladies on the street and told them we were meeting today. Nobody seemed concerned. At the meeting that we had, the neighborhood meeting that I hosted, the general consensus was down there is a bottleneck and they'd like to make a no parking. So do we have a motion? We have a motion?
I'll motion for that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Andy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Again, passes unanimous. 1000 Washington Street is under new business. What we're doing is we're establishing unrestricted parking spaces on the odd side of Washington Street prior to 780 Washington Street. This is part of that massive change down there. We're doing a lot of money. We're getting a lot of grants and stuff. The college is giving up some land, going to make angle parking. But in order for the college to give up the land, I believe the agreement is that they want some non-restricted spots down there. So I'd like to get a motion, if we could, to set it down for public hearing for our April meeting.
I'd like to make that motion. But I also had an emergency preamble. So this is somewhat critical to the whole project down there. It's something that the college needs in order to grant the city the easement. And without the easement, there's no project, basically. They're turning the parallel parking on the village side of Washington Street into angled parking. And they're creating, I think it's like 90 spots down there. And work is supposed to begin a week from yesterday, the 12th of April. So it's somewhat time sensitive. This is going in front of the city council Tuesday, I believe, the granting of this easement. So I would like to set it down for a public hearing with an emergency preamble.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Motion seconded by Chris. Any discussion on the motion? Andy, just one question. I'm going to check with the law department and the rest of the members. This may be something where we might have to have our meeting Tuesday in order to expedite it. So we might have to have a third extra meeting. I'm gonna see if the emergency will do it with the law department. If not, call Jim Lamana. If not, we may have to actually have an extra meeting.
Okay, whatever we need to do.
Uh,
Or whatever.
Again-
I'll whatever I need to do. I don't want to volunteer the rest of the group, but.
and then the other thing is there are some other parking spots there. Those other parking spots are actually going to be 2-hour parking spots, and the college and the city has no problem with that, and I don't believe there's opposition to the rest of them being restricted somehow. But the 40 spots would be restricted. Yeah, Mr. Lamana didn't answer, so I was gonna get him for a legal opinion. I'm gonna call the question if there's no more discussion. Andy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
And myself is yes. So that will be going to our next meeting, whenever it may be, with the emergency preamble, hopefully the emergency preamble. The only other discussion I would have, if we are gonna have a meeting again next week, because we have to do this, I think we should just do our April meeting, do everything at that time. Rather than have one next week and then the week afterwards. So is everybody fine with that, Cheryl? Instead of having 2 meetings, if we have to have an emergency, let's just do one and not have another one in April.
I'm fine with that. I'll just have to check to make sure that the park is not having a meeting at the same time we are. Otherwise, we
So we
bounce
might-
each other off.
So otherwise, we may just have to change the time. All
Yeah, but I'll let everybody know.
right. Hopefully, Mr. Lamana will let me know and I can move on with that.
Cheryl, what's
B.
the issue with that? The go-to license?
Yeah, the go-to meeting license, there's only one, and it's under Lisa's email. So if we can't schedule meetings at the same time, we bump each other out of it.
Okay, are there others at the city available? Like, I imagine someone has one we could use, right?
I think the mayor's office has one. And we could always use a Zoom platform. I think they have it as Zoom too.
And I believe ISD has one because I'm actually on a Zoom meeting. I mean, I go to meeting with them at 6:30. So
If there's some kind of conflict, let me know and I'll try to, I imagine.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
so number B, 1001 10 East Side Road, establishing no parking loading zone at alleyway. I guess there's an alleyway there between 2 buildings and it's causing
Havoc.
havoc. It's technically, the dumpster gets emptied, I think, 3 times a week, so it's
Yeah.
probably crazy to make it certain days. And then again, if there's a snowstorm, they could be picking up the next day. So, what is the wish of the board?
Make a motion that we set down a no parking spot in front of the alleyway. Set that down for a public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Seconded by Jim. Any discussion on the motion? Andy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And myself, yes, that motion passes. Dave, you wanted the floor?
What's that?
You wanted the floor?
Yes, I have a couple of things that we're gonna need to go over. It's similar to Brookline. We were up at Shoemaker today. They have some issues with, they had some traffic issues because they had the bus problem. But they brought to my attention, they're having the same problem with the signs needing to be changed. So I spoke with Orrin Wright and I got the new times for Druitt's, Harrington, and Sisson. Their new dismissal time is 12:45, so we need to change those signs to at least 12:30. And then Connery, Hood, Sewell, Anderson, Tracy, and Shoemaker, they have a 1:15 dismissal, so we're gonna need to change those to like 1 o'clock.
So Dave, not to interrupt you, but Andy, what I'm almost thinking is, why don't we make a motion that during this crisis, that you or myself can change the hours of the signs temporarily to meet the needs of the COVID problem with the different school times. And we'll do a blanket for all schools, and we'll set it down for a public hearing at our next meeting. That should solve, because all of a sudden another school is going to call up and have the same problem.
Yeah, I'd leave it up to Sergeant Hunter. Is that okay?
That's fine with me. We just need a little time when we make the times before dismissal. We don't want the time to be right at dismissal. I spoke to the school resource officer at Marshall, and he would like 15 minutes. So I'm figuring if we do 15 minutes ahead of everything, that's enough time for them to make sure the street's clear before the kids start coming up.
Okay.
Yeah,
My
what I'm
only issue
looking is proposing,
My issue with changing the signs is we've been changing them. I'd like to just change them once. So if we can make sure we get the numbers correct, verify it with the school or whatever you have to do. I have no problem changing the signs, but it gets frustrating when we change them more than once.
and again, I think if we do all the schools and it's a blanket thing where Andy and me can make that decision as chairman and the head of the DPW, if we vote that next thing, so can I have somebody want to make that motion? Dave?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Blanket all schools. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second. Yes.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Andy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Darrell?
Can I request that Sergeant Hunter communicates with me directly on the hours, because I actually have to type up the ordinance for George, and so that he has it for the sign guy. When everybody else gets involved, it gets very confusing. So I'm still recording the ordinance, so it has to be through me that the time frame goes. So if you kindly just respond, communicate with me so I know.
All right, I'll
Thank
come
you.
down tomorrow.
Jim?
I'll come down tomorrow.
Let me just finish the vote. Jim?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Motion passed unanimous. Again, signage, we are having a problem with signage. The signs went up on Cliff Street and basically we never voted them through. So somehow the DPW put them up. It was not Andy, somebody down there put them up. But any correspondence on signs should go through Cheryl and Andy or myself. We should not be talking to anybody else at the DPW other than Cheryl and Andy or myself on signs. Because the problem is, it's happened on quite a few locations that we're putting up signs and then the DPW is going to go back and take them down because we're jumping the gun on signs. So no sign should be put up. Nobody should talk to anybody at the DPW other than Andy and Cheryl. Is that fine, Andy?
Yeah, that works.
All right. Other than that, is there anything else for this great board?
No, one motion to dismiss.
Motion to adjourn has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second, non-debatable. All in favor? All right.
Aye.
Thank you. A pleasure. And I'll let you know what's happening. Or Cheryl, actually, our great secretary, will let us know what's happening if we have to have a special meeting
Next week
for
or the
the
week after.
project. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Have a good night,
Okay,
everyone.
bye-bye.
Night.
Thank you.
On it. If not, I would ask Sadie White that maybe could give the wording on that. For the budget.
For the first,
For the first one was for the budget item, exactly, in the job.
Yep.
So the motion, do you want me to say what it is?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so the motion was motion to transfer $18,086 from the para substitute account to the business administrator's salary account to fund the manager of, one second, I just need to get the word in again. Sorry. The manager of financial operation position.
And there was a second, and to move it to the full committee.
So, Member Satterwhite, would you like to make that motion for the full committee?
Yep, motion for the full committee is to transfer $18,086 from the para substitute account to the business administrator salary account to fund the manager of financial operation position.
Motion is on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, without any additional discussion, a roll call is required.
Mr. Castellanos?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
And Mayor McGee?
Yes.
And the second motion was in regards to the kindergarten licensure, and if Ms. Gately could.
Yes, the motion was to make a motion not to make the certification and EL part of qualification to serve as kindergarten teachers in Lynn Public Schools.
And there was a second, and it was moved to the full committee.
So that is in front of the full committee. Is there a motion to, is there a motion on the floor to address the vote at the the personnel subcommittee?
You want me to read it again?
So motion on the table. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. I would ask.
Can I just ask Attorney Myhouse, is it a yes vote if you support it? A no vote if you do not support that motion? Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Capola.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, a no vote would be to move, to allow the administration to move forward. A yes vote would be to not allow that proposal to move forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. There's been was plenty of discussion at the subcommittee meeting, so there's been a motion and a second. Roll call is required.
Mr. Castellanos?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Nicholson?
No.
No. Mr. Satterwhite?
No.
Mayor McGee?
No.
No. Motion carried.
The last thing on the agenda is superintendent's report. I know, Dr. Tutwiler, do you have, I think we've had a lot of discussion, so I don't know if there's anything else you need to add, or you do have a report. We're happy to listen to it. You're on mute, Dr. Tutwiler.
I got you. I do have a report. It's fairly lengthy, but I will give you a high-level overview. Since maybe November, maybe December, if you've been following the news, nationwide, there's been an issue around FAFSA completion for college-going seniors. In some cases, 30-40% lower than in previous years. For some, you might say, well, what's the big deal? Student doesn't complete that. It's not a big deal, but it actually is, because 90% of the students who complete a FAFSA actually matriculate to college, and 55% who do not. So we've been tracking it since the month of January. And in our most recent data set in March, we do see some concerning trends. Lynn Classical and Lynn English are both down in terms of the number of FAFSA completions effective, the number of FAFSA applications that have been completed by March 1st. Lynn Tech, however, is at the highest it's been in 4 years. Good things happening there in terms of FAFSA completion. And there's all sorts of reasons why a student might not have completed that. Maybe it's the disruptive nature of the time. Maybe it's access, maybe it's understanding. But in any case, we're taking the bull by the horns. We applied for and got a $28,000 grant from DESE to support FAFSA completion. We're partnering with Salem State and with North Shore Community College to provide supports for our seniors in completing that. I believe seniors have until the end of June to do so. There's a planning meeting that happened, I believe, earlier this week. We plan to launch those supports for families early next month. The other thing that I wanted to make the committee aware of is that our English language arts curriculum at the high school level is a little bit old. It's dated 2012, does not come with online resources, things of that nature. And so you can expect a presentation at a curriculum subcommittee meeting at an upcoming meeting to lay out a plan for how we intend to go about identifying a new resource.
When I said you had a report, and I know we talked a lot, it's not to limit your ability to give your full superintendent's report. So I hope that
That's all right.
was not any attempt to limit the information that you always, in a great way, bring to the committee. So
the entire report will be posted on the website tomorrow. I welcome you to read it. It's got graphs with the FAFSA completion stuff on it.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Tutwiler.
Can I ask a quick question?
Member Nicholson, yes.
Thank you. Just about the FAFSA completion rates. I see the drop off in the last year. Was the trend generally like a general increase before that? Or is it?
Yeah, looking at the schools, no. I mean, I would say that there have been differences each of the past 4 years. But as I look at classical and English, those appear to be a little bit notable drop-offs compared to previous years, whereas tech appears to be a notable increase over previous years. But I'd say, not being a mathematician, but it's within the range of like relatively normal shifts between the years, relatively. Probably would need, at English had a pretty significant increase last year compared to previous years. And this year is certainly less than that, but slightly more than 2 years ago, but less than the year before. So that's what I mean. It's been about kind of ups and downs, but what we don't want to do is leave to chance to say this is part of a normal, sort of progression in terms of completion. We really want to, get support resources set up for kids and families and try to get that number as high as possible.
And that makes sense. Do we also get data on the number of students that start and don't complete it, or is it just the number that complete it? So can you tell if people are just not?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to get back to you on that. And I do know that phenomenon, having experienced it myself with a senior at home, because it is not really a sit down and do it all in one fell swoop kind of thing. But I'll have to get back to you on whether or not we have data on that.
Okay, yeah, I think that could be a good opportunity to identify the problem. And just quickly in the curriculum update, I think that's great. I think, particularly with the English language arts, seems like a great opportunity to work on some of the conversations we had, particularly last summer, around celebrating diverse cultures.
Absolutely. Huge opportunity. Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you. Any other questions of the superintendent's report? There's no other items on the agenda, or entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, number of seconds requires a roll call.
Mr. Castellanos?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Great. Thank you all very much. Have a good night. Enjoy the weather on the
Good
weekend.
night.
Night all.
Good night,
I
everybody.
get out and golf, man.
Bye, Lorraine.
You're watching Lynn Community Television, Lynn's public and government access station.
Welcome, everyone, to our March 16, 2021 Lynn Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Mary, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Give me 1 sec. Mrs. Crowitz?
Present.
Mr. Wooten?
Present.
Mr. McElroy?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Gisono? Absent.
Yes.
Mrs. Curley?
Present.
Mr. Kalnin?
Present.
And Mr. Wood?
Present. Okay, great.
Perfect.
We have a quorum. Regarding the minutes of the February 16th meeting, has everyone read them? Does anyone have any corrections or
Motion to accept is read.
does anyone have anything they want to add before we go ahead to approve them? All right, hearing none, we have a motion from Mr. Callahan to accept the minutes of February 16th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that an aye, everyone? Okay.
Yes.
Hearing none opposed, I'll say yes, we have approved the minutes of February 16th meeting. And so we'll go to our first order of business. The 314 Broadway, case number 9947. I believe, Attorney Lamanna, we're going to continue this again.
Motion to continue.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Callen. Let's hear from Mr. Lamanna.
I do have some good news to report. This evening, the City Council voted to transfer to our office sufficient monies to engage an appraiser. So I'm hopeful that appraisal can be done very quickly now that the money's been transferred. And by the April meeting, we'll know what direction to go in order to have this land and have this construction be completed lawfully.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Great to bring that to a close. It's one of our all-time longest cases at this point, at least in my tenure. So Mr. Callahan has made a motion to continue. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Mrs. Curley. All those, you want to call the roll or just do a voice call? All in favor of continuing?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Hearing none opposed, we're going to continue that to the April 6th meeting. Next order of business is case number 9963, 38-40 Herschel Street. Sitting on this case, this is continued from the February 16th meeting. And let's see, so Mrs. Curley, Mr. Gisono, Mr. Callan, Ms. Crowitz, and Flory, Mr. Makuo are sitting on this, but since Dan is not here, Son, were you here at the last meeting?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so would you sit on this case for Mr. Gisono?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so you, Lori, Terry, Pat, and Jean are on this. And Jean, so will you take over this case since you chaired it last time?
Okay. Case number 9963, to vary pursuant to MGIC 40A S10, the provisions of the City of Lynn Zone Ordinance to permit the demolition of an existing two-car garage to be replaced with a new larger two-car garage with greater square footage for storage and with a second floor in violation of the City of Lynn Zone Ordinance. Is a petitioner here?
Yes, good evening. My name is Matt Langis. I am the designer for the project before you tonight. 38 Madison Street, Amesbury, Mass. For the record. Based on the feedback provided by the board from the last meeting, we had revisited plans and elevations and made significant changes to the roof and the height. The stairs were removed, the entire second floor was eliminated, and the height was decreased by approximately 6 feet. So in the elevations before you tonight, we are showing a revised version. The materials all remain the same. We are showing architectural asphalt shingles, a vinyl double hung windows, clapboard siding, and corner boards in the same white color to match the existing home. So referencing the zoning matrix in the top right corner, the relief that we are seeking for is in reference to the lot coverage. The existing lot coverage is 32.3%, and we are proposing a 5.3% increase, which brings it to a total of 37.6%. It's a fairly short presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are.
Anyone have any questions?
Where is the increased square footage? Is it in the volume or is it in the horizontal plane in the floor plan?
It's in the horizontal plane only in the floor plan. The existing garage is approximately 20 feet wide by about 19 feet deep. And we are proposing a 24 by 24 garage.
Okay. That's a big increase. That's a 4 feet in each direction, 24.
No, 4 feet in one direction and 5 feet in the other.
Yeah.
It's good for like a two-car garage when they open their doors.
Right. The existing garage now. Correct. Okay. So if you look at these photos, the size of the existing garage doesn't allow for I would say a modern car to park in there. But I think if you had a Fiat, you might be okay. But opening the doors is quite difficult in the size of the garage that it is now. 24 by 24 is sort of a typical two-car garage size that I've done a fair amount of work with in the past, and it's a number that allows the homeowner or the user to be able to comfortably exit their vehicle without hitting the car or an intermediate support in between the two cars.
What's the extension of the roof that's here that's in black? What is that?
So that portion is the homeowner is hoping to maintain the driveway and the property a little bit better. So that is essentially storage for a snow blower and maintenance materials for the driveway, shovels and that of the like.
But that's still in height, right? That's not in width.
No, that is only in width. So if you're looking at the garage floor plan, the height of that gable is not above the 24 by 24 foot garage. It'll sit approximately a foot below it. But the extension really is in the horizontal distance. That's the 6.5 feet that is shown in the garage floor plan.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question, Mr. Chairman. The design that I'm looking at is not what I was expecting. This doesn't look like a regular accessory building. It has a dormer attached to it. And it's not, it doesn't blend well. It looks like a single family design. That's what it looks like. And it's difficult to read the printing on it. I have a big magnifying glass and I still can't read the numbers. It's really not a good design, and I thought he was going to change it. That's what I requested. I can't support this in this design. They got to remove the dormers there, and if it's a garage is an accessory, is considered an accessory building, but this is not what you see typically in an accessory building.
So I just want to confirm the drawings before you tonight are brought down to the maximum underneath the maximum height of 15 feet.
I understand that.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I understand. Wait a minute. I understand that. I can just barely read that 15 feet. That doesn't help the elevation design that I'm looking at right now.
So Pat, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about like taking that whole little dormer section off, just making that like a shed roof?
I'll leave it up to his design. It doesn't suit what the city requires.
Okay.
And I can't support it. So he's got to change it. He's got to change the elevations. He didn't do that. And plus the plans have got to be big enough so you can read them with your glasses. I got to magnify, I can't read the numbers. That's not a proper instrument to be held here for a record.
So this was the original design. It was 2 stories, and we asked him to get rid of the second story, and this is what it is now. So is it there's too many doors? Is there you want less doors? The doors are looking like they're carriage doors. That's what I'm assuming. That's what they're trying to do.
That's correct.
Do we just want garage doors? I'm trying to understand what we're thinking as a group.
I think he's wondering why they need a dormer.
But that's not actually a dormer. That's just where the roof line is.
Right. So I apologize. Go ahead.
Would you call that a dormer?
No. So that is if you're looking at the left elevation, that is just the roof that covers the extension of the storage area. Essentially, it is done that way just so a lower pitch gable roof would fall underneath a 4-pitch. So I did this change in roof line essentially to help with rain and snow drainage a little bit better. So that is not a dormer that you're looking at. Is essentially the side angle of the roof shown in the left elevation.
Right. I think if we don't like something about the roof line, I think we have to be able to articulate exactly what's wrong with it, not just because we don't like it. I think the only way in terms of construction, the only way it can work is by doing it this way. So the board needs to really better articulate exactly what is wrong with the roof, in terms of aesthetics.
Were there any complaints from any neighbors on this?
There were, I believe, about 4 or 5 letters of support that were submitted with the previous application. We have not reached out to the neighbors with the revised proportion, but we can do so if the board requests. But because they were in favor of the previous application, we were assuming that they would also be okay with a smaller revised version as well.
And so no one spoke up at the last meeting, February 16th, in opposition?
No.
No, I think if I could just share another comment here, I think he's in variance on the width and and length, not so much on the heights or aesthetics.
Right.
You know, he reduced it by a lot, 6 feet down. So I'm not sure exactly the issues here that we're having.
It still looks pretty big.
Well, you can't.
Yes, it does. Too big.
Well, in today's you can't build a garage that you can't fit two regular cars right now. If we left in terms of square footage, you can't fit 2 cars in there. It won't work. The 2 doors will be bumping to the walls or bumping into each other's.
Here's the way I kind of look at it is that I understand everybody's point of view that it looks big and it looks like it has a dormer that's coming out to the side. But I look at it like this. If you look at the pictures of the garage, you can see what it looks like now. And I think that whatever they're going to be doing with that new building is going to improve the look of that property. And the height will still be low enough so that it does not interfere with their neighbors.
But it looks too big for the lot to me.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I understand that. And I don't disagree.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, what is the rear square footage of the rear lot where this building's going to be located? What is the square footage? You can't exceed 30% of the rear yard. And I don't see where that is mentioned anyplace. The number of square feet in the rear.
It's not going back to the rear. It's actually going forward to the yard. So it's growing south of that plot plan, not north of the plot plan to the abutters.
Why you can't see the complete layout of the house and the garage?
Well,
you've got to change. As far as I'm concerned, you can talk all night about it. I'm not going to accept the design that I see the elevations.
Do you think that you can take this back and put some elevations on here for us?
I guess I might be misunderstanding it by the term elevation. Do you mean elevation in vertical height?
I think he means by what the elevation looks like. He does not like it looking like a residence. He wants it to look like an auxiliary building.
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, no, an accessory building, not an auxiliary.
I'm sorry. Yes.
An accessory.
Sorry about
that. Does not look like an accessory building. If he wants to redesign
the committee
it again, wants to redesign it, we could have another look at it.
Do we want him to get rid of the clear story glass? Do we want it to have a very simple garage door?
Forget the glass. You know what I'm talking about. I've been reading plans all my life. And these are elevations. Wait a minute. Don't interrupt me, please. You've got to change that. It's got to be changed to look more like it blends well with the neighborhood.
I think the doors are handsome looking.
I do too.
Well, they could be, yeah. I got no problem with the doors.
Well, I'm just mentioning it being said already.
I mean, what else can he do to the elevations? I mean, there's 3 doors. There's one accessory for the snow blower and the lawnmower and garden supplies. These are the 2 doors for the garage. I'm sorry?
Mr. Chairman, that's just a repetition of story that's been said already. I believe, we've heard all this.
So what are you asking, Mr. Callen?
That we proceed with a vote. If he doesn't want to redesign.
So I'd be happy to revisit a design if there are concerns over certain areas of the elevation. I guess what I would just like to clarify what the current issues are with the revised elevations.
A proper accessory building. One roof, an H-shaped roof, and this is getting too big for the area, way too big.
Well, there's no criticism from any neighbors. What if he made one what's the four-sided roof, and you just brought it out a few feet short so you could still have some storage for snow blower and shovels and what have you, and fit two cars comfortably. Or maybe you made it. What's the total width now? It's 30?
It's 24 plus the 6.5 feet, so I believe it's 30.5 feet total. Correct.
So, Carolyn, what if they made it like 27 or 28 feet? Would that be acceptable with just one roof? Maybe with a
You asking me?
I believe he is.
Yeah. I have to see a new design. I just can't, go by that, by, what could happen. I gotta see on a plan that if we accept it, it goes on file. Can't accept this for the file.
Mr. Chairman, that is one roof system already. So it's not a two roof, it shares a roof.
But I think he feels it looks like a residence and not an accessory building. The way that roof is done.
Well, will it help the property if it looks nicer than a garage? I mean, it's a nice looking garage. It looks like a carriage house.
It does.
But I mean, is that bad?
I personally don't think it would be a bad thing. I mean, the thing that's causing the look of the building to do that is the storage. So if we don't allow them to do the storage on the side, they could just get a shed, and that could look like anything. It doesn't even need to go before us. At least this is a nice looking, attractive building that adds to the value of the neighborhood.
Mr. Wooten, did you have any letters of approval at all?
I think we read it last time. I can look in the folder. Hold on a second.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question to the architect?
Right ahead.
Is it possible to extend the slope from the garage to the storage space? I don't know if you meet the slope ratio, but is that possible?
That would be possible to essentially create, I think, almost like a lean-to on that side. So I think what you're asking is to almost extend that gable roof in the same direction. Yeah. So from the front, it would almost be perceived that there was no additional roof. Yes, absolutely, that could be done. It would be altered to be a different pitch, but if that is something that is much more, it would be in a better favor for the entire board, I'd be happy to revisit it and take a look at it.
If we could take a swing of that, I think we could table this for the next meeting.
We don't table, we continue.
We can continue.
So which direction is the slope now? Is the slope going this direction?
To the west.
As a lean-to like this?
It would lean to over the storage area, yeah.
Exactly, lean towards the left. Yep, that direction.
Okay, so then this will be lower. So the pitch of this would look something like down here.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
And this is all gone?
Yes.
Yep.
I think that would make you happier, Pat.
And me.
Can you see the red line that Sun put on that picture?
No, I want to see a redesign. We're wasting time here. There are other cases we have to hear.
Okay.
Yeah, but Pat, we're just trying to get you an understanding of what the architect should do going forward to please you on this.
Yeah.
He's drawing a line that would, so he can have some idea of a new roof line. Does that roof line seem pleasing to you? Can you see that what he's drawn there?
I'm not going to comment on it. I want to see it on a plan.
I would say that looks like a good path forward with this project.
I think so. I think you're right, Rick.
I don't think this will be resolved unless he tackles that.
Okay. Gene, you think that's okay going forward with that type of roof line instead of the other more dormer style?
I don't know if Pat's gonna like that. I can't answer for him. I'm sorry.
No,
If the gentleman wants to take another stab at it, I'm all for that.
All right.
I'd be happy to revisit it. If the concern is that it is showing too much roof, I'd be happy to visit a shed option. I think that'll decrease some of the volume that is perceived from the front elevation. I would like to see if there are any other concerns. I'd be happy to make that shed roof addition as small as possible in order to hopefully have a favorable vote for the following meeting.
Just
Mr.
want
Chairman, why don't we proceed? You know, we can't talk all night on this one case.
Well, Pat, the gentleman is just trying to please you. That's all.
You don't have to please me. I'm thinking of the entire city of Lynn in this case.
We're not going to get through this unless you're happy.
All I want to do is look at a new design.